wants to record. Okay, great. It wants to record. Great.
Hooray.
Well, welcome back to the Nerdy Neighborhood, everybody, and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood comic show. I'm your host, Lauren, your Friendly Neighborhood bi, and joining me today for another indie comic creator interview is Sierra Barnes of the webcomic and graphic novel coming out soon from Dark Horse Comics. Hans Vogel is Dead. How are you?
Woo, I'm doing good. Enjoying this Saturday morning. It's Saturday.
Yes. It sounds like someone else's too. Do you have a pet or something to make that noise?
I do. I'm so sorry. I have two bunnies here and they're being criminals.
I love that for them. As they should.
Yeah.
They are righteous bunnies and want attention.
That is true. They are only awake for a certain number of hours a day, and those hours must be taken. There's so much crimes to do, and when you sleep like 18 hours a day, is not a lot of time to do those crimes.
Right, it sounds like they're kind of similar to how, us gays live, and by us I mean at least me. Be bunny do crime is very similar to be gay do crime. So it makes sense to me.
It's true. And all of our bunnies are confirmed not straight. So I don't know how bunny sexuality works, but Coco was bonded to a female rabbit before. She had a girlfriend. Her girlfriend unfortunately died.
Oh no! Oh my god, that's so sad.
Yeah, when you rescue shelter pets, you never really know what you're gonna get. And as a shelter volunteer, don't keep your rabbits in hutches because they can and will get parasites.
Oh my god!
They will kill your rabbit very fast. So don't do that.
Oh god.
But
that's terrible. So now we've heard about Bunny being dead on top of Hans Vogel being dead. So,
so
apparently we're having death this Saturday morning, everyone.
When you're into like German literature and Eastern European literature, all of that stuff, you sort of see the death coming from a mile away. I got really into like post-war German. This is going to sound just insufferably academic, but I got really into post-war German literature in college because that's when everyone was like really messed up after the war and like trying to deal with it. And the main way that they were processing it was through surrealist literature. Mm-hmm. And so you start getting stuff like The Tin Drum by Günter Grass. Mm-hmm. You get Kabat, which is translated to The Satanic Mill by Ottfried Preussler.
Fun.
Which is that's a great book. I love The Satanic Mill. I like saying Krabat better because it makes me sound normal and not like recommending Satanist literature to children, even though it's not Satanist literature. But it is a children's book, allegedly.
Allegedly.
But yeah, there's
our lawyer said.
Our lawyer says allegedly. But there's just a lot of like really funky anti-war, anti-fascist like stuff, and because like German, if you know anything about Germany, you know about the Brothers Grimm. That's just like literally one of the building blocks of German national identity. And so just like any other building block of German national identity, everyone's taken a cold, hard look at that in the post-war hangover that is the 1950s and 60s in Germany. And so a lot of these like post-war surrealist literature were done through the lens of fairy tales, and that slapped my entire body. I was really into it. I liked fairy tales. I liked history. I liked the weird stuff. And I was like, damn, I want to make a comic about that for some insane reason. And then I did it. I think
that's the best comic pitch I've heard in a long time. Like these ideas all just slapped you at once. It was great. And you're like, I'm going to put these like 3 things together and say, ta-da, I did it. You're welcome, world.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, like, I wish that I could say that I was the first person to think about like fairy tales plus surreal anti-war, anti-fascist allegory. But like, no, a whole bunch of dead Germans did that before me. Probably some alive Germans too. I just like, I was obsessed. I lived in Austria for a year after I graduated college.
Nice.
And I just went around going to museums. I was like teaching English, but I was also like going to museums. I was going to parks. I went to every World War memorial. Every town had a World War memorial, and it was 1 and 2, usually combined. And I took pictures of it. I asked a bunch of grandmas really intrusive questions. It like coincided with the centennial of World War I. So when I was asking about like when I was asking about the war, people were like expecting that I was talking about World War I. Which was like a whole interesting thing, because in America, when people talk about like the war, even now, like people are going to default to World War II. Yeah. So like it was a great time. I learned a lot. I destroyed my accent. I lived in like a little tiny rural town. So like shout out to Upper Austria. Yeah. We don't need mountains to be cool. Baumgartenberg life. Yeah, I lived in a town of like maybe 200 people. I saw maybe like 4 people on the regular. It was a time. I tried to make friends with the ghosts in the 11th century monastery where I was staying. They wouldn't want to be my friends. I was very sad. But it was a whole time. It was an experience. But I came back and I was, working a bunch of like jobs that I hated, and I was like, well, you know what? I can do a webcomic. The cops aren't going to stop me. And I started HANS VOGEL is Dead in 2015, and just have been pursued by it like an avenging angel ever since. And this is my baby. It's my child.
So you have an 8-year-old baby, essentially. This is your 8-year-old child.
This is my 8-year-old child. Yes, I'm trying not to think about how long that is too hard.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I had to say it, to be honest, because I can't imagine having something that you've worked on and raised essentially for 8 years and kept building up. And now, it started as a webcomic, and it still is. And Dark Horse Comics, I guess somehow, you guys got in touch and they said, let us print it, plus. And you said, plus, yes.
Oh man, the story of it getting picked up is, so in 2018, I was approached by an editor from Dark Horse, who scouted me for this project, and I was like, this is it, kids, let's go. Oh my God. And we were pitching for like 6 months, and at the very last stage, it got rejected, and I was distraught.
Oh no.
Oh my God. I was like seriously Victorian moping. I was like full on romantic protagonist lying on the divan with my little hand on my forehead. And like, yeah, I don't want to, like, it's funny now because they like picked me up, but like at the time I was like sincerely devastated. And I sort of like picked myself up and kept going. And in 2020, I finished volume 1 and shopped it around and got picked up by indie micro publisher in the UK called Cast Iron Comics, or Cast Iron Publishing. And they printed it. They ran a Kickstarter for it in 2021. They printed it last year. And then sort of halfway through the year, we're like, hey, we can't get distribution in the US, and we think you should try and find a US publisher, which was like kind of devastating because I was already working on volume 2, but I was like, you know what? Sure. Okay, we'll do this. Crying real tears, but we're sending pitches through real tears. It's okay if you cry when you send pitches, as long as you send the pitches. And I sent a pitch to the editor that I had I last talked to her in like 2020, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, hey, so I don't know if you would still be interested in this at all, but HANS VOGEL is back looking for an American market. And they picked it up, and I couldn't be happier. This is like the dream, since I was a small child reading Hellboy. Because my parents let me read Hellboy. What's that about? I don't know. Here we are. And yeah, I mean, living the dream. I got to do my first Dark Horse signing.
Yeah.
In July at San Diego. So I feel very official.
Oh, hell yeah. You should.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Especially with, San Diego is the con. You know what I mean? Like, it's the one everybody thinks of when you think of what's Comic Con. You know, everybody gets that picture in their head. I've still never been. So that's how you know you've made it. I haven't. No, I'm kidding.
You should go. I mean, I used to go when I was like really little because I lived in the area.
Mhm.
And my Tio Earl would take us, like me and a
Nice.
gaggle of cousins. And like it was still like a trade show. And you could bring, like, what you would do is you bring a sketchbook and you'd ask the artist to, like, you know, please can you draw Spider-Man? But when you're
Yeah.
young and cute, that like works.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I haven't been back in like maybe 10, 15 years. Like
Mhm.
I hadn't, just because I had moved away and like it
Yeah.
exploded and it, you know, became something completely different. So coming back, I was like, you know, oh my God, like I can't believe that I'm on the other side of the table and I'm doing a panel and like this is crazy. And it was a completely different experience from what I remembered, mostly because I wasn't able to like go around and spend all of my money on
Yeah.
stuff. And I was telling my husband that I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the first San Diego Comic Con that I've come back with less stuff than I brought, which is good. But I'm like, ugh, I feel like I left something. I feel like I've missed out on something. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool. I actually found an artist that like remembered me and my cousins from when we were little who was
Oh,
still at the show. So, you know, I was
that's
like I ran
amazing.
over to go see him at his table before the show started and we were like I was tearing up. I was like, "I
Oh,
remember you."
yeah.
Like, "I don't know if you remember me," but he was very nice about it, but I was like, "Oh, feelings." Yeah. It's a good time. I recommend it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, see, I live on the East Coast. Nowadays, like the as close you can get to East Coast as possible. And I'm like, California, that's money, that's time I don't have at the moment. But one day I will make it out.
Someday.
That's the
It's
goal.
worth doing it at least once. Yeah. Yeah, I, like, also on the East Coast, so getting there and finding a fortunately, I still have cousins out there, so I was able to, like, crash at their
Mhm.
place, which cut down significantly on travel expenses, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a haul for sure.
That it is. Well, so with this actual story, you know, lots of German inspiration, obviously, your fairy tales, history in general, all that good stuff. I love the main premise behind this. So, you know, this is what you guys can see on the screen here. This is the website. It'll be linked below in the description of this video, so you guys can click it and read it and all that yourselves. But I love the description of that. Basically, you know, Hans is this, you know, great pilot and war hero. He loses his life in the Battle of Britain, but then he wakes up in the afterlife, where fairy tales are real and a happy ending hasn't happened over 30 years. And he realizes that he served an evil empire and all these things. And so now he has to basically try to, you know, fight fascism and all these things that he didn't realize he was helping. And I love it because when you read that premise, you're like, okay, it could be something. And then when you actually get to read the comic, or at least when I have, I'm just like, this guy is the biggest dork and is trying his best, and there's so much chaos.
Yeah, one of the things that I, like, realized sort of studying, like, my undergrad, I was mostly studying, like, World War II, World War One interwar period in sort of Germany, Russia, everywhere in between. And the main thing that I realized that the more you look into, like, especially the Third Reich, but any kind of history, the more that you realize that, like, it's just kind of a shit show. Like, everyone is no one is as organized and cunning as you think they are. Everything
Mhm,
is running on, like, someone's just harebrained scheme. Like, the entire history of World War II is just a bunch of harebrained schemes all happening at the same time. Like,
mhm,
history is a series of accidents, and, like, one of the things that I wanted to get across is that I think that, like, I love Indiana Jones, but I think that, like, most Americans, when they think of, like, Nazis, they think of, like, Indiana Jones, jackboots,
mhm,
little mustaches, and evil plans, and, like, I wanted to show that, like, not sort of a good the good German myth that it's like, "Oh, there were good
mhm.
people in the Wehrmacht too." Like, no, that's not that's not at all what I'm going for here. It's
Right.
that everyone can, like, everyone has the possibility to mess up enough to find themselves, you know, doing horrible things, and,
Yeah.
like, you have to be aware of what those are. And so this whole idea is sort of like Hans isn't like he's a war hero, but he's one who's manufactured. Like somebody is turning him into a war hero for their own personal gain. He's a guy who is like a 20-year-old anxious wreck who in any other time period would be sort of like middling people pleaser. All he really wants to do is like take photos and be a hobby pilot, and the only way that he can do that is by going into the Wehrmacht, and like a series of pressures have acted on him to the point where he's a Nazi. He's a card carrying Nazi, and like he's sort of forcibly ejected, if you will, from that environment, and has to reinvent himself in a way that like examines who he was and how he got to where he was. And he wasn't happy being, and like every scene that we see of him in like his past, because we see flashbacks of his life, and he's not a happy guy. Like he is a messed up little child.
Yeah.
Like he's on pretty hard drugs just to function. He is like, he hates himself. He hates like most everything that he's with. He is constantly afraid of like half of the expressions like on the screen are just him being like freaked out for some reason, and he's just like, any nerves that he has left are just so jangled that he's like a walking bag of, like, if you clapped your hands really loud around him, he would probably just be in the nearest tree, just send. And like, I want him to be likable in the sense that he's the protagonist, but he's also like very much not so, in that he's kind of a spineless little guy. You know, he's just like, like I love him because he's my messed up son, but like he is a dork. He is, if he were in the modern age, he would be really into some like very niche video game series.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a very self-indulgent alternate universe where he and his friends are like YouTube Let's Players. And like, it's much nicer. That's where I go when I'm like beating the crap out of him in the actual comics. I'm like, oh, in the nice world, he can like go discover what boba tea is with his friends. Yay.
And I love, you know, it sounds like, because, you know, of course, when writing characters such as him that, you know, are Nazis, were Nazis, all that stuff, you know, finding that line between, well, we're not trying to be sympathetic to somebody that has been or is or whatever a Nazi, right? And there's still this gray area of, you know, possibilities. And like you said, you know, back then he still wasn't happy doing it, and yet he still chose to do those things and all these things. And so it's this big giant gray area that you get to kind of explore and flesh out. And the nice thing about gray areas that I enjoy is that you can choose basically any way to flesh them out. It doesn't have to be hard, extreme, one way or the other. You have so much wiggle room to do there. And I really resonate with it, because you're right. Like there's times where it's like, you know what, maybe he deserves to get a little beat up here. And there's other times where you do feel a little bad still, because you're like, well, he kind of tried. So like, thank you, man. Like maybe you should get beat up this time.
Yeah, like the problem with Hans, it's to the tune of the problem with Maria. Yeah, how do you solve a problem like Maria? Like Hans is going to take the easy way. He is like trying to find the easy way. And when you live in, when you're born in 1918 in Germany, the easy way is bad. It is not good. It is not the way that you would like to take. And like in a very real sense, it leads directly to his death. Like he makes the easy choice slide right into getting just sensor bar in his aircraft. Like horrible things happen to you as a pilot in both of the world wars. It's not a fun way to go. As much as like the Knights of the Sky, we'll have a whole other thing on the Knights of the Sky myth, which is part of what this book is about. Like, you hear a lot about like, oh, the Wehrmacht might have been bad and the SS was definitely bad, but the Luftwaffe, they were cool because they were pilots and pilots are noble. And that's just a bunch of horse shit. It's absolute just crockery. It is nearly 100-year-old PR that's still working on people. So stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Well, my father is a pilot, and I love my father. And part of a reason I think, he is a great pilot. He flies private and all that. He doesn't fly. He's not in the military or anything, thank God. But he will tell you things like the reality of like, hey, getting ejected out of a plane. People are like, wow, it looks so cool and fun. No, that is not. That is basically, this is your only other option other than dying in an explosion and worse. You can easily die from ejected. When you land after that in a parachute, you've probably broken legs. You've probably broken something else. Like, it's not glorious. So I'm like, I didn't know that, Dad. Thanks for telling me when he told me that one day.
I don't know if anyone's heard the song Gory Gory, What a Hell of a Way to Die. Yeah, I think about that a lot. I mean, I read a lot of pilots' accounts and like diaries and memoirs and stuff. And some of them, like especially the German ones, you gotta be a little bit careful because they are just straight up propaganda. Like a lot of post-war German fighter memoirs are just like, please don't send me to Nuremberg. I was a good guy, I promise. Which is like, but like, yeah. At one point in the comic, like one of my macabre favorite moments is like Hans's two friends, Fritz and Uli, who are with him in the Luftwaffe, who are his age roughly, and they're digging graves in Spain. They're not in the Luftwaffe, they're in the Hitler Youth, and they've been sent to Spain, and they are digging graves because Uli was smoking in the barracks, and he's not supposed to do that. Uli is a jackass. I love him, but he's a jackass. I love all my delinquent children. And Hans is not sure why they are digging in the desert. He doesn't understand what's happening. And Uli is just like, we're digging graves, which is pointless because when you get shot down, you're just paste on the inside of your cockpit. And Fritz is like trying to hedge around Uli saying these like very horrible things, and Hans is sort of like shell-shocked, but the just like matter-of-factness of Uli being like, yeah, didn't you guys know? Here's all the horrible things that happen to your body if you get like killed in a like there's so many horrible things. The only reason that people signed up for the Air Force in any country, I firmly believe, is because people saw what happened to you if you got up in the mess of wood and canvas in World War I and you survived the 2-week life expectancy, that they were like, no, we got to make these guys superheroes or no one is going to sign up for this. If we do not constantly ply these teenagers with champagne and medals and hookers and blow, no one is going to want to do this. And yeah, no one should want to do that. That was insane. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, it still happens to this day. That propaganda and stuff for countries, including the U.S., and not trying to be.
We all saw Top Gun,
Yeah, Top Gun. And here's the thing: like the first film, I tried to watch the original first film. I fell asleep. I need to try again sometime. Sorry, guys. And this was this year, so full disclosure, I wasn't a child. I tried it. I fell asleep. I was really tired, though. I'm not saying I fell asleep because it was terrible. I was just tired. But I did watch the newest Top Gun, and I was like kind of upset. Not like mad or anything, but I was kind of upset because I was like, well, I can't say that was a bad film or that it wasn't for me even, because it's normally like I don't seek out that kind of films like about planes and blah, blah, blah. But it was such a well done film. It was so well made. It made me feel good. And I could care less about all these planes and Tom Cruise and all this. I was like, how dare you guys make a film that even I like when I don't want to like it.
See, I enjoyed it. I thought it was well made for what it was, but I have seen way too many like Nazi propaganda films to actually like it, because there was a lot of points in there that I was like, oh yeah, it's weird hearing these things in English. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Kind of crazy how America like does things too. Oh, okay. And anyways.
Yeah, so like the fascist ideals of anti-intellectualism and the vague enemy, just constant bangers, just still showing up.
Bangers only.
Which is very stressful for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like one of the things that I wanted to do with this book is have just a lot of scenes of Hans encountering like Nazi ideals coming from Nazis for Nazis, and like having the readers get a chance to be like, oh, this is something that I have heard in my real life coming from a not Nazi. Interesting that it is also coming from a Nazi here. Huh. Wild. Because again, like the Indiana Jones problem is that if the aesthetic monikers aren't present, you know, how confident are you in recognizing fascist talking points? And I'm, you know, I enjoy a good Umberto Eco, but I know everyone doesn't enjoy Umberto Eco as much as I do, which is fine. You know, everyone is entitled to their opinions, but I think he's great, and I think everyone should read Foucault's Pendulum because it messed me up, and in the best way. So I read other surrealist fiction too. Okay, it's not just the post-war Germans. Sometimes it's the post-war Italians.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you
Yeah.
diversify a little bit, right?
Exactly. God, yeah.
And one thing that I love about this, you know, originally, you know, being a web comic and still going is I know before we start recording, you're kind of talking about how fun it is that with a web comic, you get to see people's reactions page by page. And so like I noticed on one of the pages that was on the screen earlier with that other character with him, like I think I saw a comment below before I turned that was like, is this a new character? Who is this? And they're so excited because they have to wait for the next page. They can't just turn the page and find that answer. So, you know, what is it like to like get those first reactions and people are just like, I need more information. Where is it? I'm so excited.
If you leave a comment on any page of my comic, I love you. that just like that's it. I thrive off of any attention being given to my work. Like if you're like, Sierra, you're a cool person, that's like nice. But if you're like, Sierra, I really like it when Brynhilder just lectures the hell out of Hans for wasting his life and tells him to die, then I will show up at your house with chocolate. And I like that. Just, yeah, people resonating with it, people having reactions to it. That's like, but like nice reactions. If you're mean to me, I will cry. So
I mean, that's a mood. That is a whole mood. And
yeah.
so, you know, you get those, you know, page by page reactions from people that get to read your comic and they choose to comment and all that. What are you kind of anticipating, hoping, afraid of, all that good stuff with, you know, getting it out in, you know, a volume 1 complete format so everybody can read it all at once and basically, you know, go from there?
I mean, I like my greatest fear for this project has always been and will continue to be will someone somehow think that this is pro-Nazi in some way?
Mm.
Which I've like obsessively been trying to make very clear that it is not, despite the fact that the protagonist is a Nazi. But I, you know, I think it's pretty clear. But I like have had conversations with editors and my agent, making sure that it's like, yeah, you know, promoting a book with a Nazi protagonist is always like, okay, what can we put on the cover? What can we put on the cover?
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I've tried my best. It is in the hands of the audience now. Be free. But again, I will cry. So think about that before you say something mean. You can say mean things about Hans though. He's fine.
Yeah, he's a Nazi.
He
That's
would
fine, guys.
he would cry, but he cries like a lot. So it's fine.
Well, and on the cover here, you've got a fox on there, and I know in the description on the website, you kind of mentioned who that is, but who's this fox? Because it's not just any fox.
My baby girl Reinica. The first thing you should know about Reinica is that she is not a fox. She just looks like one. She is temporarily inconvenienced as a fox. Hans finds Reinica in the woods, caught in a man trap, and he's sort of like whacked out from having a crash landing and a very bad meth trip. So he's just like, okay, sure, this might as well be happening. And a witch encounter. England is the fact that he's not unconvinced that he's in England after meeting a witch who wants to eat him should tell you a lot about what Hans thinks about the world in general, how many drugs he's been on.
Oof.
He's not really well versed about countries outside of Germany too much. He's like, yeah, cannibalism in England sounds about right. Sure.
Those
He
damn
might be
English.
correct though. Yeah, you never
Your
know.
English.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I promise. I know you guys aren't cannibals, but Hans does not apparently.
Yeah, well, the food is terrible. I'm sorry. You guys need to step up your cooking game.
I didn't say it. She did.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry. I can roast the British a little bit. It's fine.
I'm completely fine
British
with it, but
it's cool.
it's okay. We get roasted as Americans,
Yeah.
and honestly, we have so much to be roasted for. Fire away at all times, please. Seriously,
it's so true. It's so true. But yeah, he meets this fox and she talks, and he's like, "That's not normal. I'm pretty sure foxes don't talk, even in England." And she reams him. She sort of joins him along on his adventure at first because she broke her leg in the man trap. And then because she's like, well, this guy's kind of entertaining. We're gonna see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a 12-year-old girl in reality who has been cursed to look like a fox by Redacted. We'll find out more about her in volume 2. But she's one of my favorite characters. I love her so much. She's my baby girl. She's perfect. She's never done anything wrong in her life. Maybe she has mange and some tics, but it's fine.
It's not her fault. It's not
her fault. She's a 12-year-old kid who's been living in the forest for a few years by herself with a bunch of other feral children. It's cool and normal. She's cool so valid.
How we all grow up. How we all have to survive.
Look, if you haven't been a 12-year-old girl, regardless of gender, being a feral 12-year-old girl is not a gender thing. It is a state of mind.
You know what?
It is.
I agree. It's like saying girl dinner. Girl dinner is not just for girls. It's girl dinner.
It's about the mindset of trying to be like Warrior Cats wasn't out when I was a kid, so we were trying to be like animals from Redwall, but like that kind of energy of small children running around on all fours on the playground, biting each other in elementary school, like that kind of energy is really what the weird girl energy is what I'm trying to like encapsulate with Reinica.
Yeah. And the feral energy. I love the feral energy.
Absolutely feral. She bites Hans within like minutes of meeting him.
He probably deserves it. So
he did deserve it. So he responds by giving her chocolate, which don't give chocolate to real foxes. That is not good for them. But Reinica is not a fox, so it's fine. It's probably not great for her either.
So that's interesting. So even though she's inconvenienced in a fox's body, she can eat chocolate like she's still in a human body.
Yeah, no, she is a person. She is just being perceived as a fox.
Oh, so she's not actually in a fox's body. She's being seen as a fox.
Yes.
Other
characters can
that
see
is
her
great
as
clarity.
a person.
Because reading it, I was still thinking the whole like in a fox's body. So now I'm like, things are making a lot more sense now.
No, because and this is like something that will be revealed in a few pages on the webcomic. Because we've only seen everything from Hans's point of view, she has just been a fox this whole time, but like gradually as Hans like becomes de-radicalized and like stops literally dehumanizing people, she becomes more people. Like she gets clothes in this chapter. It's fine. Spoilers. I mean, I guess it's kind of not spoilers.
It's too late.
She comes out swinging saying she's not a fox, so you just gotta believe her. But yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. That will be studied in English classes. What does this mean? How do these connect? Look at you already breaking into English classes.
Oh man, they're gonna be real confused about like, why is there a comic in here?
What grade level would this be appropriate for? And hey, they read what is it? Persepolis?
That's true. That's true. So. Yeah, I'm not saying comics are literature. Comics. Comics are literature, and people should be reading more comics. This is just my lack of faith in the American education system.
And you're right to have it. I say as a former teacher, so unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a bummer. We all live in a society.jpg.
It's fun.
I actually the thing about being a comics person though is that I do have a reason for the curtains to be blue, because you have to have a color in there. You can't just vaguely describe things.
Crazy.
Yeah. Also, because I had to design a throne room for the most recent scene, and I went through a lot of pictures of Bavarian and Austrian throne rooms, and the blue, red, yellow, white was a big color scheme for a minute there. Real big.
And you do this entire thing. I can't believe I haven't mentioned that this entire time, but this comic, it's all you. The art, the lettering, the writing, I mean, other than the editing. Of course, you have an editor, which is wonderful. But otherwise, you do everything else.
Yeah. Shout out to Misha and Jenny, my editors. You guys are the greatest. Yeah. Yeah, no, I am the little hen who does it all. I make the comic. I eat the comic. Yeah.
That's your girl dinner, the comic.
That is my girl dinner. Yes. Girl dinner is
Epiphany.
Yes, is a 20-year-old meth head and his 12-year-old adopted younger sister.
Yeah, that's not a problematic situation at all. Not a problematic duo.
It's fine. There are other characters who are coming soon. It's cool. There are other even more problematic characters.
I was gonna say, we love a problematic duo. I feel like the duos that like make perfect sense, we're like, that's great, and then we're like, oh, look, another problematic one. I'm back over there again.
Look, one of my favorite dynamics in literature is like messed up, kind of whack in the head veteran and like inexplicable preteen girl he adopts. Like Golden Kamuy, one of my favorite book series ever. The Immortal Sugimoto plus Usurpa equals great. 10 out of 10, no notes. It's perfect. We love it. It's just I would trust Sugimoto more than I would trust Hans, and you can say that. It's not that I don't think Hans would try. I just think that Hans he's not great at like most things. Most of his success as a pilot comes from the fact that he's I do, and that's how I can say it with authority. I trust your
judgment call.
Yeah, he's like most of his success in flying has been because he's very anxious and he does math. So
see, I'm very anxious and hate doing math. So thank God I'm not Hans. I passed.
Oh no, not math, meth.
Oh,
like
well,
the drug.
yeah, I definitely don't do that either. So I still pass.
Yeah.
Thank God. You tried to get me, but you couldn't get me on it.
Yeah. He probably would be bad at math too. I don't know. He hasn't told me yet.
Or he'd be obnoxiously good at it, depending on how the meth goes.
Yeah, depending on whatever weird little like brain thing he has. He's I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's good at yet. He's still working on it. So far he's good at impressing one preteen girl who looks like a fox temporarily. He may have blown that though. Once she figures out he's like not cool, it's all over for him. So
yeah, I would say, does he want a participation trophy? But maybe he doesn't, because it sounds like he might lose it. So
yeah, no, he would feel really bad about it, actually. The other thing that he's very good at is feeling bad. He feels very guilty about almost everything.
So is he a Ken? He sounds like a Ken.
He would be a good Ken. Yeah, his job is plain.
Yep. He's just Ken.
He's just Ken. Reinica is everything.
He's just Hans. There's your next shirt. Yeah. He's Hans enough. There you go.
I did a redraw of Hans and Reinica as the Barbie and Ken meme where they're in the LAPD and Hans is the concerned one and Reinica is partying with her. And that's basically everything you need to know about them. They're great.
It's perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
It's very descriptive. I love how memes can describe characters or even like plots sometimes. It's a really great visual aid.
I have a whole folder of memes that I've redrawn with Hans Vogel characters because that's how I keep going. Yeah.
You need like a little meme book. Like if you ever have to do a Kickstarter or something for future volumes, that can be like a stretch goal. You get the meme book.
Yeah, you can get the little zine of absolutely unhinged memes that I've drawn with Hans and Reinica. assorted
Unhinged
other
memes,
characters.
yes, please. Those are the best.
It's because I draw them and then I feel self-conscious about it, and then I put them in the folder where no one can see my sins.
But that's all the more reason for us to see them. Now we really want to see them.
Exactly. I'm just building up the hype here.
You set it up. I don't know what I'm going to do until I get that zine. I'm going to be looking, be like, Sierra, where is the Kickstarter? Because I'll back it now.
I'll send you the meme folder.
Yes.
I'll send you the meme folder. Yeah.
Memes. I love collecting memes. I feel like that's what I hoard are memes. I don't make them. I've never made a meme in my life. I can honestly say that. It's sad. But I've never made one. And so that's why I thrive on other people making them.
It's a good time. I recommend it. It's good and fun for everyone, for the whole family.
Man,
even.
if I ever get more time again, maybe that'll be next. I know like when I had more time a couple months ago, I was making TikTok videos and making dumb thirst videos because that's what I do. I thirst over characters. And that that just died when I got busy. So my chaos gets hinged on adult life, which is lame.
When I have time is...
Isn't that stupid? It's like I can make time if I want to do it, right? Like I'm so full of shit.
I wish I could make time. If I could make time, it would be over for you. Okay, it would be over for everyone.
It's true.
If I could,
you became the Conqueror, Sierra the Conqueror. There you go.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You can use that if you ever need it. Take it. I don't need it.
Cool. I'll take it. Yeah, with my horde of bunnies.
Yes. Oh, that would be Sierra the Conqueror, and your army is bunnies. Done.
Yeah.
That could be your next tattoo.
That'll be my next project. Marvel, call me.
I was gonna say you can get one of your favorite artists to do that tattoo for you. Be like, hey, I need you to do this. Plus,
you're just teasing me because my editor has a cooler tattoo than I do because it's designed by Mike Mignola and it's so cool. Jenny, if you're listening, it's so cool.
Hey, Mike, if you ever watch this, get ready to help design that tattoo for Sierra.
Mr. Mignola, sir. Please, sir. I met him at Cartoon Crossroads, Columbus one year. It was really nice. It's really down to earth. I felt like I was going to like die. But I probably embarrassed myself a lot, but he was very nice about it. I gave him a comic. I hope he liked it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, embracing the chaos with me here, talking about Hans, dying and, coming back and trying to get his life together.
Comeback tour. Yeah.
Yeah. I know the release date was originally in September. It looks like some people are getting told by like Barnes and Noble and stuff though that's going to October. So release date's kind of in the air, but either way, I'm going to make sure the pre-order links are in the bio below. So just pre-order it because that way, whenever it's out, it's at your doorstep. That's all you have to worry about at that point.
Yeah, please read about my fail son and his terrible adventures in becoming a slightly better human being.
That's a great elevator pitch, actually. I really enjoyed that.
My fail son? Yeah. Don't worry, there's other characters too. There's a Valkyrie, who's my favorite character.
Well, I'm gay, so move. I will be finding the pages the Valkyrie is on.
Yeah. Have you, like me, read ancient German literature and thought, this would be cool, but what if Brynhildr was bi? And yeah.
I just do that with everything I read. Wouldn't it be better if this person was bi? And then I have to remember that people like have different sexualities outside of bi and validly so. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can't just have everybody be bi. Let me shut the fuck up.
I mean, I am ace. My fail son is an ace because I love puns. There are so many puns in this book, so apologize in advance. But yeah, Brynhildr is
here. Especially in the neighborhood.
Is definitely bi.
We have a neighbor named Eric, a fan of the show, and he's also been on the channel before, and he calls himself the Punister because he likes to make really bad puns in our Discord. He has a whole channel dedicated to puns, and other people throw them in too. It's a blast, and it also makes me slap my forehead like 3 times a week. It's great.
Well, every name in Hans Vogel is a pun, so enjoy.
Everybody, go find all the puns in
find
Hans
all the
Vogel
puns.
now.
Yeah. Some of them are bigger than others, but they will all be revealed at some
Ooh,
point eventually.
perfect. Well,
Yeah.
where can people find you to keep up with all your work and all that good stuff? Especially because I heard something earlier about a volume 2, so there's more coming, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, we've got all 3 books were picked up by Dark Horse. So volume 2 is in the works. Currently, you can read the pages as they come out on hansvogelisdead.com on your friendly neighborhood internet. You can
Haha! I appreciate
find me
that.
on yeah, wink. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter, Sierra Bravo Art, for as long as that ship remains above the water. I'm also on Blue Sky as Sierra Bravo Art. I'm losing my voice for some reason. And I'm on Instagram at Sierra_Bravo_art. And I have my own website, SierraBravoArt.com. So if you've forgotten all of that, you can just go there.
I was gonna
See
say, I'm gonna
my
put the
stuff.
links
Yeah.
below so you can be clicky because I'm lazy. I forget things. So just clicky. You can
Clicky
find her at
clicky.
all those
Yeah.
places. You can find Hans and all her other children there at all times.
They're all unhinged. All of my unhinged, horrible little children. Yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast talking with you. Again, everybody watching this later at home, all the links will be below so you can just click, have some fun, and let Sierra know because you heard her earlier. If you like what you're reading and you're also like, hey, where's the next page? Bother Sierra about it.
Yeah. Like nicely though.
Yeah, nicely and
I will cry. Remember, I will
enthusiastically.
cry. That's a
Yeah.
threat. Yeah.
We don't bully in
No,
the
it's
neighborhood.
fine.
Bullies get kicked out.
Yeah. Yeah. You heard Lauren. Come on.
And again, neighbors, thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys next time in the nerdy